All right, now we're getting started. Hi, my name is Lex. I'm a crime scene investigator. I work here in Florida, so I'm very happy. Oh, I can't see some of the chat. I'm very happy to be here and to present all this fun information to you. I'm going to give the disclaimer right now. I am not affiliated with any agency. I'm not affiliated with any organization that I may be a part of. Yes, I understand my affiliation, my involvement with them means affiliation, but I'm not representing anybody. I'm representing my brand. We will not be discussing case information. We'll not be discussing case facts. We're just going to talk about education and about the field and about how the field operates, not necessarily all of the little intricacies about crime scene and stuff. So no questions about gory scene. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about a more educated discussion about education. So it's a rundown of what goes into education, experience, expectations, everything you think of that you would need in the field. Or not. Here we go. So I wanted to start off with this quote, and we know it well. If you're in forensics, every contact leaves a trace, by Edmund Lockhart. I tell people all the time, this is not only something forensically related, but it's also something that relates to how we interact with each other, how we operate within ourselves, how we operate in society. Everything we do leaves a trace. Digital, lasting, a mental trace. Sometimes you remember somebody by the first impression they give you. And a first impression to me is a trace. It's what leads you into how we're linked to each other. And I tell that to students all the time, every contact leaves a trace. Everything you do is going to leave a trace. And you do have the power to figure out, is it a positive trace, or a negative trace? We use it in forensics all the time. It doesn't have to be strictly for forensics. Every contact leaves a trace no matter where you go and what you're doing. So you might as well make it a good one. This is me. A lot of people may or may not know. Maybe you recommended, maybe you followed through my socials. Maybe you don't know who I am. My name is Lex. I've been a crime scene investigator for about 3.5 years now. I obtained Associate of Science in Crime Scene Technology from Kaiser University and a Bachelor of Science in Forensic Investigation. So I have 2 crime scene degrees, and I'm currently studying for my master's in forensic medicine, which I've been working on my midterm all day. So that's fun. And forensic medicine in some is death investigation or medical legal death investigation. I'm very interested in forensic photography, medical legal death investigation. Those are my big interests. And when you're in the field, you end up finding interests that really pique your talents. And I'm very into the creative side of what we can do with forensics. So anything with ALS, anything with like weird processing, taking that money shot photography, even if it's at a hard angle, I'm all about it. And of course, studying death investigation, working with etymology, I've been studying a lot about that. So I'm still in my baby days of crime scene. So my biggest thing is what qualifies me. I can talk all I want, but what has qualified me to talk about this? And not much besides me knowing and having personal experience. I have a lot of lived experiences, and I like to educate and share those experiences. And if that can help you in any way, then that's my goal. Obviously, I am in the field, so that helps a lot with sharing my knowledge, but I'm a first-generation college student. No one in my immediate family actually went full through to college. I'm the first one to obtain a bachelor's in my immediate family. I'm Spanish. I mentioned before, if you guys are here, I'm Puerto Rican. So I am a Latina. I'm a woman in STEM. And that's big because our field now is very dominated by women, but before, whereas we didn't really have a lot of say, it was a very male-dominated field. I'm following with something my father wanted to do. He wanted to be in law enforcement, and just the way life worked out. He was a corrections officer, tried to get into the academy, and just life didn't work out in his favor. He's doing great, by the way, but it's something I know he really wanted to be with, like the agency that I'm with now, he wanted to be with. And it's very nice to be able to have my name, which is his name, in that field. I'm currently a field training officer, which is an FTO. So I am training the new round of CSIs that come into my unit. I've already trained about 2 or 3. I love training. It's very difficult sometimes, a lot of paperwork, but I have a big passion about it. It's me, not so much a qualification, it's just that lived experience. I lived in Central Florida, so I traveled to South Florida for my internship through an amazing host agency. Because there's nothing where I was at, and I was so desperate to get in somewhere. I went to what I regard as one of the best units in Florida, and I learned so much from them. but they didn't have an established intern program. When I got there, they told me I was only going to be there a day. So I was like, oh no, please, let me show you my worth. I did 320 hours of intern time. So 40 hours a week with no pay. And I lived out there for the whole week. And then I would travel back to my home, do work. I was working at the funeral homes local to me, work, and then go back and drive back. And I did that for 2 months straight with like nothing in my account. I was still paying my car, finishing college. It was such a difficult time. And I felt so lost and alone, and I didn't know what to do. So I wanted to start creating resources so people in the field don't feel like that anymore. People getting into this field don't feel like there's no options. I just don't like that it happened to me, and it's not anyone's fault. It was just a lack of having that information available. So, and that's the purpose behind this presentation, and that's me from my grad photos. You can survive school. If you're a school student, it's possible to survive. I just remember feeling lost. I felt really misguided. I felt like there were so many amazing people in the field, and they were not talking about their experience. They were not telling information. And I just kind of felt almost bitter. And instead of being bitter and hateful, I just turned that into, well, if they're not going to do it, then I'm going to do it. I have had very few forensic mentors. Now I've gained a lot of mentors, but when I started, I had just maybe one or two. In school, I had one. One, it was all it took. I Googled everything. Everyone's just told me, oh, you want to be a CSI, Google it. Oh, you want to do this, just Google it. Google is great, but not for getting the actual information that we need to succeed in this field. I felt like it was putting me back. I was looking up false information. I didn't know sources. It's a mess. I was desperate. Many students are going to be desperate to get in this field. So that's why this presentation is the way it is. So the importance of forensic education. If you're here, then you know education is important. And I will tell you, I've had some classmates that they were in our bachelor program and they're like, oh, I'm not getting a master's. Oh, I'm not doing trainings. That is how you survive in this field, is education, to get in and to stay in. Education, it can be expensive, it's time consuming, it's a lot of focus. Some of us are very privileged with time, and some aren't. Some have families, some have other obligations. You may not have time. I get it. But higher education is being demanded more and more. Job listings have it. The field's asking for it. And now we're like, is it worth it? I'm here to tell you yes. I love school. I'm big into education. I'm absolutely here to tell you yes. Both primary and secondary supplemental educations, whether your primary education is a bachelor or you're doing certificates or trainings, and that's your secondary or supplemental, they are vital. You cannot succeed as a practitioner in forensics in this field, in this rigor that it's at now, without education. You will be outdated in a year if you're not trying to learn something. You don't need to pay to go and research, to read. There's so many books out there, but you have to be considerate and know that this field is changing. And if you are not reading and training, you're going to be lost. Sometimes I feel like that even now. So when does it count? So it counts on job applications. The biggest thing I hear from students is, well, I got denied because I don't have experience. Well, obviously education is important. Make sure that you're putting your degrees properly. Determining specialties. I figured out I like death investigation in my forensic biology class. I figured out where I kind of wanted to be niche-wise in my degree. So having education helps because you can figure out what you're good at and you can work on what you're bad at. And court is the biggest thing that we have on our plate. You will look fresh out of high school almost if you don't have good qualifications. And any practitioner will tell you, the more qualified you are, the more trainings you have, the more things under your belt, the less you are seen as someone that it can be chewed up easily. Defense attorneys will go into everything, even when you're doing your voir dire in the beginning, when you are doing your prosecutions, like, hey, tell me about yourself. What degrees do you have? Nothing sounds better than somebody who is just thorough with their education and very into their education, and they're going through and showing their training and proficiency. The jury wants to hear a qualified individual. CSI effect, right? Make sure that you have your education. Education is completely continuous in the field of forensics. If you're going into this field, again, you should know that through degrees and training, you will need degrees and training. That's not something that's optional anymore. That's something that's more and more prevalent in the field. I see a couple with the Q&As, and we'll get to those Q&As too. And some of them we might be able to answer. So this is the tree of forensics, and it looks overwhelming because it is. I wanted to display some of the many different fields, subspecialties, everything in between. So looking at the tree of forensics, you can see there's so many different specialties. And when I tell people that you belong in forensics, I mean it. There is something for everybody, so long as you have that rigor, so long as you are choosing to further that education and be more than just a photographer or just as a scientist. You're going and adding the forensics is the application of law and science. You are going and you're taking what, an ordinary like nursing. People don't realize there's forensic nursing. Now, I'm not no master on forensic nursing, but I know that our forensic nurses work with us when we go out to sexual assault centers. They're there to get proper evidence. They're there to help victims. Thinking like, obviously, crime scene. I'm in crime scene. Forensic entomologist, someone specifically works with bugs and entomology. You may be something as like a blood spatter analyst, that you are working with blood. You may be a CSI, and that's like almost like your little subspecialty. Some people just go straight through and that's their true, not subspecialty, but their true flat, this is who I am. Anthropologist working with bone, toxicologist working in the lab, reading up toxicology results. There's so many different options of forensics. It's overwhelming. How do we figure out where we're going to go? How do we figure out what we want to do? Because to me, I'm the type of person, I want to do it all, but you can't. So where do we go? How do we get to point A to point B? That's what we're going to kind of explain. I'm going to give a lot of tips and tricks. I primarily do crime scene. So obviously I have a lot more knowing about crime scene. And we'll kind of get into where we can go from there. So what skills are needed in forensics? Majority of you are students, so I don't know how far you are along in your studies, but whether you are your first year, whether you're in high school, whether you're in your last year, you can still learn. There's always time to learn, and you can always learn more as you go. What skills are needed in forensics? Science. That should be a blatant, obvious one, but a lot of people get freaked out when they go into chemistry or biology, or they have to know anatomy, and they're like, oh my God, I'm not good at science. I had a D in chemistry in high school, and I survived forensic chemistry with a B. It is possible. And the thing is about forensics is when you're getting into your field and your degrees, it's not like high school anymore. A lot of the things that I struggled in high school, I didn't struggle in anymore in college. Sometimes it's learning new learning styles, learning how to combat imposter syndrome. These hard subjects, they're hard, but once you understand them, they make your life so much easier in the field. Technology, you all saw me struggling with Zoom, but technology is important. We use 3D scanners. We use digital software programs. We use different state-of-the-art technology. You need to be able to know how to operate it. A lot of it is based on smartphones and smartphone technology. Being proficient in that. That's something that you wouldn't think so, but a lot of my older colleagues will say, I don't know phones, or I don't know anything that you do, so teach me. And coming into this field and being so fresh, you have the opportunity to teach people that are your senior that would have never learned had you not come in and done it. So technology is huge. Writing is a big skill. You do a lot of report writing. You do a lot of documentation. Everything we do is documentation, writing notes, writing supplements. You cannot groan when it's time to write a report because you need to get it done. History, you need to know where these fields come from. You need to know case law. You should be learning what are the pivotal cases in each field that you're in, like being in crime scene, understanding Daubert, understanding Daubert versus Fry, understanding pivotal convictions, understanding and following up on new convictions, and following and seeing what the courts are saying about how our evidence is presented. And I think recently there's been a lot coming out with like blood spatter, odontology too. Oh, I want to go back. I was not done. Math. Everyone hates math. I hate math, but understanding for like trajectory, formulas. If you're getting into something that's considered that specialty, you should be able to at least articulate formulas, or at least look at something and know the math behind it. Blood spatter analysis too. You guys need to know math. You need to know how to measure. And maybe that some of that comes from science and some of that may come from math, doing measurements, being able to articulate coordinates. You need that mathematic background. And visual art, I throw that in there because when I was going into forensics, I was an artist. I was not a CSI. I was not somebody who was into forensics at the time. I wasn't into science. I was not a STEM girly. I was an art girly. I loved art. I love drawing. If you know my shop already, you know I draw all my stuff. Being a visual artist has saved my life as a CSI more than you ever know. I can sketch like no one can believe. I can visualize everything. I feel like it helps my photography. I had very informal photography training or like creative photography training. So easy to go in manual and do painting with light because I did it for fun with lasers. Now I just got to do it for crime scene. To me, it was a lot more simple. So everyone asked, and I'm just going to say this now, we're going to talk about pay. And this is the only time I'm going to talk about it because I understand wages are hard. I truly firmly believe that everyone should be having a living wage. And for forensics, we're not paid millions of dollars. We're not paid in the 6 digits. Some people will say, I make 100,000. You might be like a detective grade or like someone sworn. Civilian CSIs, we don't get paid that much. I've seen it go from as low as 30,000 to as high as 60 to 70,000. It depends on your price of living. The average per ZipRecruiter is about 51,000. That's kind of where I'm at right now. We do a lot of this for communities. The money is extra. You probably will hear that a lot, but you put in so much work. I call it free labor, but it's free labor for yourself. You're working on yourself and you're making yourself a better professional. We do it for our communities. We have a skill. We're very blessed to have skill and a passion that many people don't. So we need to use that. We need to be able to serve our community. And if I can go and use my photography skills to document a scene properly so we can recall it later, 5 years later, then that's my goal and that's my purpose. The pay is needed. I'm never going to deny pay needs to be right where it needs to be, but it may not be enough to cover everything that we do. The type of things that I do in the day, I definitely don't feel like sometimes it's worth it. But then seeing a conviction, I feel like every dollar, every cent, every sweat is worth it. Right. And someone had added in the chat, salaries based on your local, county, state, federal. So if you go something that's more prestigious, like if you go federal, you may have a different job duties, you may have different benefits and a different pay. Cities kind of like in the middle, you may have better benefits at the sheriff's office working for the county, maybe working for the state. There's so many different options. But I'll tell you, for what we do, I'll say every crime scene investigator, anybody in forensics, we do beyond our salary and our pay grades. And it's not for nothing. It's because that's just our purpose. And we're servants, we're public servants, and that's what we do best. But I wanted to get that elephant out of the room because a lot of people definitely ask me a lot. So identifying the needs for skills. Where do you start? So let's say you're a student and you don't know where to start, or you're a student, you don't know where to start education, or you're a student right now and you're trying to figure out what you need. This is how I break down skills. This is what I did. I'm sharing with you my secret, I guess. This is how I break down skills. This is a recent job posting from St. Johns County here in Florida. So St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, anybody in here from there? Because this is a pretty good job posting. This is like the textbook crime scene job posting. This is what you hope to see because it gives you so much information about what they're expecting. A lot of these job postings, they give you the answers before you apply. You have to be smart and know how to utilize all the information they're giving you to your advantage. So looking at the breakdown, look at keywords. Those keywords should be in your resume, as well as those keywords can be used to guide you and to figure out what you need to know. If you don't know what chain of custody is, backtrack, figure out what that means. What are the duties in a crime scene? It tells you obviously collection, examination, preservation, but if the job posting only tells you basic duties of crime scene investigation, what are those basic duties? Go ahead and start researching, go ahead and start Googling, do something. Physical and chemical techniques. So obviously it's giving you mechanical, chemical. What are physical and chemical techniques for latent print recovery? Then hydrin. If it's bloody, using amido black. I know that now because I'm in the field, but when I looked at that, I said, I don't know that answer. Let me go ahead and look at that. That's what they're expecting on your resume, or at least when you go on your interview, that's what they're expecting. Accurate reports. What is an accurate report of a crime scene? Looking at bodies. What are you looking for when you're looking at deceased? Same thing with measurements. See, measurements come up, collecting measurements, using tape measures, laser measures, survey. Testifying at a trial. What is it about testifying that they want me to know? If you can't see, if you can't read through it, then you need to start looking into it. This is kind of how I start going through, and I'll print these out and like highlight them all up. I'm very physical with it. Photography equipment is telling you, this is giving you the cheat codes, but some of the job postings don't give you all those cheat codes. Using photography equipment, so UVIR equipment, using just your typical DSLR, full frame cameras, mirrorless cameras, and then of course the other duties assigned. That's the kicker, because there's more that you have to do that you may not know that's agency specific. Even too with looking at understanding what they're asking for, what makes a good CSI, which we'll talk about later, arriving promptly, being able to work in a team, teamwork, and being able to work independently too. Those are things that we'll talk about a little later, but it literally, this is a textbook style job posting. It gives you all the answers you need right off the gate. Identifying keywords, terms, and the basics. Even without experience, you should be able to identify these key terms. If you cannot, go back to the drawing board, make sure you can. These keywords, especially a lot of automated systems that you submit your resumes through, especially like, let's say you send it to a city agency and City Hall gets it. It goes through all the ropes first before it comes down to a lot of the, like the manager and the supervisor. Make sure you have those keywords in your resume. You should have them because it's hitting and it will help your resume generate faster. And I've heard that just throughout many agencies and many fields, not just forensics. So what degree do I need? I'm going to break down kind of like options to help you break down your options and help you focus on certain aspects. This is what I use as kind of a very basic outline. Again, this is not science. This is exactly what I'm literally telling you guys exactly what I use. People ask me how I got here. This is how I did it. I like breaking things down into smaller chunks that digest because I get overwhelmed very easily. And I don't like that. So we're going to break it down a little bit. Look at what specialty like. Do you want to be lab? Do you want to be field? What are the requirements? What do you need educationally now? And then what are degree routes? This will help get your mind a little steered. Even if you're in the field and you decide that you want to go into a different specialty, you can still use all of this. This is not limited to just students. So let me see, catch my breath. So I kind of chose, Stephen added, which is fantastic. I don't know if you guys can see the chat or not. See, this is why I put the chat down here, because I would miss it if I didn't. He added, if it's entry-level position, employers are not expecting you to know everything. The more experience and training you have, the better chances, but it's not absolute. And that's absolutely right. When I went in, I remember they asked me one of my questions was, how do I process a can? So here I am, I'm like, oh, I'll do DNA and I'll do fingerprint and I'll super glue. And I looked really, really great. But I could have easily answered, I would process it for fingerprints and that may have been acceptable. It's all dependent on that agency and what they're looking for. Some jobs you could tell are entry level and some jobs you need experience. But even still, you don't want to apply to an entry-level job and be like kind of outweighed or feel like you don't have enough, because you have to remember you're going against your peers. You're going against people that have studied the way you have. And now how do you, I hate to say look better, but how do you make yourself stand out? And having more training experience and knowing what is going to be asked and expected leaves that fear of doubt, if you get what I mean. So looking at, I chose forensic photography. Looking at forensic photography, this is the kind of house that breakdown from this. We're going to go on and start breaking it down a little bit. So forensic photography, is it in field or is it in lab? It can be both, because there's some more technicians that do photography strictly in lab and they don't ever go out to the field, or they may go out to the field in an extreme circumstance. Or there's field, like I do forensic photography primarily in the field. I'm not a forensic photographer, but we do a lot with photography. So it's in field and lab. So what are basic requirements? And I gathered a lot of this information from job postings about forensic photography and anything that required or anything that mentioned crime scene photography. Knowing a basic camera, knowing chain of custody and photographing, knowing how to locate evidence, using ALS, and testifying about your processes. So again, taking all that information from here all the way to this here. kind of see if that helps with a little bit of a visual. And if I'm going too fast, if you need a screenshot or take photos of anything, let me know. And I can always go back too. And then, all right, I have all these requirements. How do I get the needed training and experience? Let's look at the degree routes. What could I possibly do? I've heard some photographers that have had art degrees in photography and then went and applied forensic training. 2 to 4 year art degree, and then they started forensic training, and that supplements and we're talking about strictly forensic photography. Bachelor's, you may get a bachelor's in forensic science, so it may be more lab based, but you have basic information about cameras. You do creative photography on the side. You know how to use a camera. That might be supplemental. I got my bachelor's in crime scene investigation and forensic investigation and crime scene. It addresses everything. So I was able to get my formal training with a camera through my degree. Or maybe you have a criminal justice degree. A lot of people get in with a criminal justice degree. So it's very easy to utilize those degrees, but keeping in mind the basic requirements. Now we talked about basic requirements. We've went through degree routes. What possible experience do you need? So now we're starting to do a little bit of a trickle down method. You're going to need camera experience. You're going to need to know basic crime scene processing. You're going to need to know not only just camera, forensic photography. If you don't know your 3 cardinal rules, you're going to have to go back to the book and make sure you know how to maximize the field, how to make sure your exposures went right. Everything you may need to know the basics about crime scene. Report writing and testifying, making sure that everything you do, you can testify to. Everything you do, you can write down. Evidence collection and mapping and measuring. A lot of times with photography, you're going to have scales, and you need to make sure you're mapping, measuring, and putting it on a 1-to-1. If you don't know what that means, again, don't take it as, oh, I don't know, I'm stupid. No, what you don't know now, you can learn. So the moment you come to that hurdle and you're like, I don't know that, let's go research. Let's go figure out what you can get. Don't use that as I don't know, use that as I will know. And that's going to do you so much better than saying, I don't know, and throwing your hands up in the air. Trust me, it's very frustrating getting into the field. Very overwhelming, very frustrating. I get it. That's why I'm trying to show you guys the breakdown so it doesn't feel as frustrating. At least you can map it out and show it visually to yourself. And you can start crossing it out. All right, I learned all the basic requirements. I did the degree. I got the experience. Now I'm ready to go. It really, really will make a difference with your mindset. I tell this a lot to anybody who wants to be a forensic. Your mindset is everything. Getting bitter, feeling bitter, acting out, feeling like you can't do it. Imposter syndrome sucks. It happens to me all the time. Having a positive mindset and saying, I will try again. You're going to hear, I tell this in every presentation I do, especially in like the forensic interning. You're going to hear no 1,000,000 times before you hear yes. Keep going and figure out what you lack and get it. Get that information, get that networking opportunity, get that training, get that knowledge. So once that perfect time that's all aligned, you're going to get that yes. This is not a field that is made for everyone. Let me rephrase. This field can include everyone, but it's not made for everyone. And what I mean by that is it's very rigorous. You have to have a lot of attention to detail. You have to be sure of yourself and your skill. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of failing. I sucked at certain types of crime scene photography. I feel like I'm not proficient in firearms and trajectory. You cannot be a master of it all, but that doesn't mean you're going to fail. It doesn't mean that you're not going to make it. It just means that's just another area that you're just going to have to learn a little bit more on. Before you know it, you're going to get it. This field can be very rigorous. It could chew up and spit you out. Shield yourself with knowledge. Knowledge is power. You will protect yourself with knowledge. Being knowledgeable in your field, being knowledgeable with yourself and knowing your limits and knowing what you're capable of. And you need a good amount of confidence too. Looking at these, I'm sure you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot. And that can be very overwhelming for somebody who's looking like, oh, I don't want to do that. Yeah, you do. Because before you know it, once you get through your training, you're going to start crossing all these off. And before you know it, you can look at that and say, that's bare minimum. I could do more than that. That's how and why we need education. And that this is not just for students. This is for practitioners in the field. Some maybe got a criminal justice degree and that's it. Continue education. Continue training. Because look at your agency's job posting and say, can I do all that? look and look and look and learn and learn and learn. I can't say it enough. Education is such a powerful resource, especially in this field. And it's a lot, so break it down. So what happens now? You have the schooling, you have the training, you have all the time, but no experience. And you keep getting you sound great, but no experience. You sound great, no experience. Let's find ways to supplement that without fibbing your resume. I've seen students that will go and fib their resumes up. And it's like, no, first of all, you want to lie on a resume going into a department. And two, you don't need to. You can gain experience with no experience. And here's a couple ways that I've listed. Interning through schooling. You can be an intern, you can volunteer. Nobody's telling you to save your intern time for the end of your semester, the last semester. You can volunteer with local agencies, even if you're not doing crime scene. Don't focus in too much in crime scene and forensics. Keep your options open. Just get in with the agency. Just see what they're all about. Don't keep a tunnel vision because you're really going to limit yourself for such a field that's so big. You don't know who you're going to meet. A lot of people have had 2 and 3 careers. You run into them and maybe they were a crime scene investigator. You don't know, or maybe they were into some lab-based training. You do not know what other people are coming through, and with their experience, don't be tunnel vision with yours. Intern at your agency, intern and do ride-alongs, do volunteers. We have interns that specifically work on our unit and they're phenomenal, and they can do ride-alongs with us and they help us out in our unit, which is, I'm sure if you've seen me, I do a lot about forensic interning and making better internship programs. And that's one of my goals, is to get more agencies to talk about internship programs that are exclusively for forensic individuals. So volunteering at local agencies, interning, participating in school programs. I was a part of SGA. I was in Phi Theta Kappa. I was in Alpha Phi Sigma. So criminal justice, I was in a lot of criminal justice based programs. Phi Theta Kappa, I believe, is for like associate degree level students with a high GPA. They not only look good in your resume, but they are great opportunities to volunteer and get involved. You don't know what those opportunities will be if you don't actually go. Michelle asked, how would you start volunteering? Like even ask as a student. A lot of agencies may have volunteer lists on their site. So if you look up like City of Atlanta or, City of New York, I'm not sure if New York does, but look up on their sites for their agencies and see if they have volunteer programs and intern programs. I know my agency does, and it's available on our site. It should be public information. Or next time that you're out and about and you see an agency at a recruiting event, ask them, hey, I'm a student and I really want to volunteer. The recruiting team should have that information for you to get you where you need to go, or at least to forward your information. I believe some states you have to be 18, some states you have to be 21. And there's certain requirements. I know our volunteers and interns, they go through polygraphs, they go through background checks, all that kind of stuff. So you do need to pass a minimum to be in. But once you're in, that's when you can go and volunteer at events. You can volunteer with specialty like CID. A lot of our interns will actually be with our homicide detectives and helping them with casework, not casework, but helping them with like paperwork in the lab. I'm thinking mine. In their office, or like they'll ride along with SBU and learn from them. So it's not just limited to forensics, which is why I tell people, don't get stuck wanting to be just with forensics. You could still learn a lot from violent crimes, from homicide, from robbery, whoever you may be with. Fourth part here is attending forensic conferences to network. I know they can be kind of pricey, but trying to attend some of these conferences would be really, really beneficial to you because you'll actually meet people directly in the field, and maybe some people that are even recruiting. Attending local forensic trainings, those you may have to pay, and some of them you may not have to pay. I know in Florida, we have the FDII. It's a smaller branch of the IAI, the International Association of Identification, and we have a lot of free trainings. Going in as a student right now with all the free trainings, you will meet so many amazing people in the field and you get free trainings. That is phenomenal. I love that they're doing that. I wish that was something that I knew about or was a part of when I was young. Yes, Stephen just linked a bunch of fantastic, which, hey, you like read my mind because that's like one of my slides. I love you, Stephen. You're amazing. Yes, look at what Stephen, see, you read my mind. Look at what Stephen posted, and we're going to talk about that too. Different associations, networking, they all have conferences. They all have representatives, email one of them. It's just, hey, I'm a student, I'm just looking for opportunities. A lot of that information is on their websites in public, and you can really benefit from reaching out. And obviously forensic related organizations, that is the biggest part. I think that is one thing that I didn't know as a student, and I wish I knew now. Again, we're going to go into the cheat codes. Boom. I am not affiliated with them. Okay. This is not affiliated, but this is the best forensic resource you could ever find. If you're not on the IAI's website, you are completely missing out on the best free resource. You don't need to go to a conference to get all the information. This organization, I know a lot of them are paid, but like a lot of their smaller ones, like FDII, will host free trainings at discounted rates for students. They link job postings. They create content for field practitioners. I've seen research papers. I've seen articles posted through. They have their newsletter. Everything you could think of for a student needing. If you don't know, the IAI has it. They are our accrediting body. Right now, I'm working towards my certification with them. I just met my training hour requirement, and then probably testing in the next year or two. They are the certification body. This is where you want to be. So for a student, per their site, unless I looked it up wrong or something's changed, it's $45. $45 to sign up. Now, I know $45 can be a lot for students when they're living paycheck to paycheck. If you can find a way to sign up with the FDI, with the IAI, or let's say you're in Florida and you can't do the parent body, do the smaller one. Like, and if you're in Florida, do the FDII. If you're in Texas, do your Texas IAI. Join. They have so many resources on their website. It is ridiculous. And it's all just sitting there. It's all there. They have, the IAI specifically has a tab for student advocacy. It's under student, and it has internships. It has degrees. It has positions for non-sworn CSIs. And look, I even screenshotted it and put it in there for you. Agencies with non-sworn CSIs, about the conference, the committee contact. Again, I'm not affiliated. This is strictly from their website. The committee contact, if you have any questions, degree programs. Right there. I was going to start making a list of degree programs, and then I was like, duh, IAI has it. Go to the website, click degree programs. It has every school with degree program. So when people ask me, I don't know where to go to school, go to the IAI website. It has everything you could absolutely need. So Courtney, thank you. I am not a part of the IAI right now. I'm going to literally do that next week. I'm only a part of the FDII. So I'm guilty of it. I do a lot with them, and I don't realize that I'm not a member. And then I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not a member. So for the first year, it's $45. And after that, it's $5 for certification. Oh, the $5 for the certification. And then it's about $40 a year. See, Courtney just got her membership. Boom. So $40 every year. I think we can scrounge that up, guys. I really do think we can. And it will make a whirlwind of a difference for you guys when it comes to getting all the resources you need without questioning. This is the most verified and certified way to get information is through IAI. I strictly, if it's not IAI sponsored, if it's not IAI affiliated, I often will be like, all right, I got to make sure that the person that's presenting it is IAI this, IAI that. It is one of the ways we can discern truth, at least in our field, because they are so accredited and so put together. So I could be wrong. I went through, again, straight from their website. These are all the different countries. I don't know if Kentucky and Alabama have. Unless I missed it on the list, I could not find, unless they're a part of the bigger. So someone could tell me if Kentucky and Alabama are part of a bigger bunch. These are all these states that have smaller divisions. So this is not just IAI. Like, again, I was talking about Florida, FDII, they're there. A lot of them, I just went to the Pacific Northwest IAI. So it includes multiple states like Washington State, Montana, Idaho, I believe. And you can see right there, there you go, and certain parts of Canada too. This is huge because this is showing you right here, your physical representation. Someone said that they might go to the regional, or Alabama might go to MS or Georgia. Okay, so they may be, I couldn't find it when I was putting it together, but they're probably all still lumped. It goes to show this, every state has something relating to the IAI, and then you have the big parent body. There is no excuse why you are not in any organization, or at least not researching one. No one's saying to go join them all. I would definitely recommend joining your states and joining the parent body. They are all here listed for you. This is, again, straight from their site. All the different countries that are involved with the IAI. Again, it's international. This not just the United States. And I think that is incredible because you can compare and meet individuals that are from different jurisdictions around the world. And I know I got a lot of people in here from different parts of the world too. I highly, highly recommend you guys look into it. It is the best resource out there, truly. Again, I'm not sponsored in any way. I'm just saying. Again, see, Stephen beat me to it. See, Stephen, me and I are on the same wavelength. These are other notable forensic organizations that when I look, they all have student rates of some sort. And again, they may be based on more science-based, or they may have certain requirements. Typically, if you're a student, you prove that you're a student, you're in. And it is very important that you look into them, especially, let's say, if you're going specialized. If you want to be a pathologist, join NAME. No reason why you can't join NAME as a student and learn and meet and network. You'll have access to the registry, so you can email a local representative and get some information and network. Make sure that you are looking broad, and then if you can find something that's fine, then you can do that too. Where we're at. Oh, we got like 10 minutes. I'm almost done, y'all. I kind of wasted some time at the beginning, but it's okay. This is another great resource. I used this religiously when I was looking. I think I applied to about 20 to 30 agencies around the United States, and I did it because of Crime Scene Investigator Network. They have an option where you can go under employment and you can get notifications when new job postings are posted. This is great because this is a little bit more informal. It gives you very basic information. Remember in the last couple slides, I was saying, if you don't know what chain of custody is, go back to the drawing board. Boom. Really easy resource. You kind of see in the screenshot down there, evidence collection, preservation, property management. This is a site that is great that allows you to branch out. Again, I'm not affiliated with them. This is just another resource that I highly, highly, highly recommend. Crime Scene Investigator Network, crimesceneinvestigator.net. It gives you everything you need at your fingertips. If you need a quick reference, if you need to figure out where you want to go. They offer, again, you can kind of see crime scene response, evidence collection, photography. There's articles, there's videos, employment. And under that employment tab, there is an area that they have for internships that are available. Looking at college and university programs, again, I get a lot of people asking me, where do I go to school? Where do I go? This is it. This is the big resource. And they're not, I wouldn't say they're not as talked about, but when I bring them up, people are like, oh, that's fantastic. And I'm like, you didn't know about this? Don't let it be a secret. I don't like secrets. I really don't, especially in forensics. I feel like there should not be secrets. We need to be truthful. Boom, right here. It is one of my favorite resources. I still use it to this day. It's great. It's phenomenal. I would love to meet the people that run this site because this site helped me so much when I was an undergrad. Yes, no gatekeeping at all. We're not gatekeeping here in forensics. I personally don't like it. I feel like we can all learn so much from each other. I see my fiance and my dog running around in the back. We can learn so much from each other, and gatekeeping, no, that's why I'm doing this presentation. So we can just get this conversation started and give you guys a route, and then I could do more specialized little presentations and get you a little bit more specialized. Traits of a good forensic professional. This is important because this ultimately is going to help navigate you. These are things that you should be working on now, like right now, like take a pen and paper, take a screenshot of this. These are traits that need to follow you for the rest of your life. If you're a student, you should have these. And not only have them, you should know them by heart. Being punctual. When you get that call to the scene, we have less than an hour to get there. You got to be on time. You need to be on time to your shift. You need to relieve the other duty. You need to be punctual to court. They call you, wake up, it's time to go. It's time to go to court. You cannot be late. You're on time, you're late. Being on crime scene, you need to be punctual. Get there early, be there early, do it early. Be punctual with your work, your submissions. Don't get backlogged. Be punctual. This works with homework. Start being deliberate with your studies and making sure that you can turn in your work on time. If you're someone that turns in your work habitually late, start changing it now. Being innovative. You may come across something that works. You need to have the confidence and the innovation to present it. If something works, if there's a new field, a new process in the field, and you want to coin that, let's go. This field is growing, guys. This is not a field that will ever, ever slow down. We are responding to more and more unique situations and crimes more than you can ever believe. Innovation is key. That is the only way forensics has ever grown, is by innovation, by innovative people, by innovative students. Be innovative, be creative, be different. It's okay to be different in forensics. Just don't be a little too crazy. Integrity, biggest thing ever is integrity. Don't lie. You know, as a CSI, I'll be the first to admit, I've messed up. I've forgotten things. I've not documented things properly. And you know what? Integrity. Yeah, I did it. And it's going to burn. It's going to suck. You need integrity. You cannot lie. You will be found out and your whole credibility will forever be ruined. One small blip of an integrity is a career's worth of pain. Be honest, have integrity, and be unbiased. We are here to help our community. We exonerate and we help convict. Be unbiased. That is one of the biggest things about forensics, is that we're using science and law to figure out what happened. I cannot go into a scene and know, all right, well, this guy's a dirtbag or this girl's a dirtbag and whatever, and just kind of brush it off. No, I'm going to go in the scene and do exactly what I need to do per that crime code. Add on what's different or new based on the uniqueness of that call, and be unbiased. I'm not going to sit there and chat it up with a detective and get all of this information and then now I've kind of poisoned my mind. Or even worse, you're almost like planting, oh, well, maybe that's related, maybe that's related. No, be unbiased. Look at it from both sides. Be careful. Oh, Sydney just shared a lovely, I will read your comment right after because I want to make sure that I'm reading it properly. But if you guys can check the chat, Sydney just shared something very, very great. Have compassion and passion. Compassion part is, yes, we go through these and we go through a lot of crime and things that we may not be accustomed to. We need to have compassion for both sides. Being unbiased, knowing that our work is very, very important. Knowing that we're working with victims that are traumatized, even if it's just a burglary and they stole a pen and the victim is crying. You may not think it's important because it's a pen to you. You don't know if that pen is relating to the victim's grandmother and that's all they had left. I know that sounds dramatic. Best thing I can think of right now. Have compassion. Don't be cold-hearted. This field, again, will chew you up and spit you out. There's no reason why you can't be compassionate. I tell myself all the time, the day I am no longer compassionate towards the people I serve, I need to quit. The moment you lose compassion, I don't think you need to be in this field. And I say that very strongly, but you have to have compassion for what you do because it at least helps you get through those hard times. At least helps you understand. Now, compassion, being unbiased, can go kind of left and right, but I always say and always suggest having compassion and passion, loving what you do. I'm doing this free on my own time because I love what I do. I love forensics and I love seeing new people get involved, and I never want to leave you guys hanging. It's a passion that just eats you alive and you just find ways to channel it. I love forensics. I will always love forensics, whether I'm in it or not. I could be gone tomorrow from forensics. So I have the passion to give you this information, which I don't think is revolutionary. I don't think this is like groundbreaking information, but it's just something that phrased the way it is important. And I see that and I value that. And that passion drives me. Being detail oriented. And I see we're kind of creeping up on 7. I think I have like 1 or 2 slides left. Being detail oriented. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot of work with crime scene. Don't miss those little details. Looking at the little crevices and knowing what you can or can't process is huge. Goes into strong work ethic. You have scenes that you have to process every surface. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to be there all day? Are you willing to work on the holidays? That strong work ethic, that will get you through. Having a strong stomach. We are no stranger to knowing that this field can be very gross. We come across human fecal matter, urine, vomit. We go across hoarder-like conditions, and we even go across things like death investigation and decomposition. Are you willing to put your stomach to the test, put your mind to the test? Because not only is it mentally draining, but it can be physically when you got those smells and everything else hitting your nose and your face at the same time. You should be dependable and flexible. You may be in an on-call status. You need to be able to be flexible. I'm not saying ruin your work, your home life balance. I'm not saying to give everything you got to work, but know that you do need to be dependable and flexible and that your unit needs you. It sounds dramatic. I'm not saying your unit's your family. We're a bunch of like crazy cousins that we may bicker, but we'll always support each other. Make sure you show up for them. make sure you be there for them. Do it for your peers and do it for your unit. Being teachable, you need to be a sponge. You're going to be in a lot of trainings and you're going to be in and out of different environments. Be teachable. Know when you're wrong, integrity, but then be teachable and teach. It's one thing to be teachable, but now teach. Teach what you know. Don't hold that in. Being independent and a team player is important. We do a lot of work on our own, but you need to know that when it's time for a major case, how to work with somebody, even if you don't like them. That is the biggest thing. It doesn't matter what you do or don't like. This case needs to get done. I could give two craps that you don't like your partner, but you guys are going to work together and you guys are going to get this done. You're going to do it right. That is the biggest thing. I kind of included this. This is kind of like the daily for crime scene or any kind of forensic specialty. You go on shift, you got court, emails, scenes, evidence to process, evidence to package, do your reports, go off shift, but it's never in that same order. I think that's the fun part about forensics in general is that you're never going to have the same order. So one last thing, I'm kind of at the end right here, probably going like a couple minutes over. So sorry if you guys can't stay, then you guys can leave, but it's probably a couple minutes over. So for students, these are what I put together for you. These are tips that I give. These are tips that I feel like are important. Is when you're in school, develop these now. So I told you what makes a good forensic professional. Now these are tips I'm giving you to do better and to meet that. Take good notes and identify your learning style. Nothing sucks more than learning something not in your style. If you're someone that's hands-on, then get it hands-on. If you're someone that's you use audio, then record it. Find ways to make it click. Taking your notes and making it click is important because that's how you're going to learn and take in new information. Network and make connections with your campus. I was very close to my campus and I'm still am, and they let me come back and teach all the time. They write letters of recommendation for me all the time because I networked and made those connections, even if they're non-forensic. Always, always, always make use of your connections. Cut off individuals who risk your career and cut out illicit substances. Like right now, I'm not going to judge you, but if you're smoking pot, cut it. If you're hanging out with people that can risk your job, and I'm sorry, guilty by association, you're in a vehicle with people that are doing very illegal things, cut it out. It matters. It counts. If you don't want it on the polygraph, don't do it. Don't say it. Don't do it. Get out of it. It will come up and it may hinder your career. Now, sometimes you can't control who you're with as in family or significant others, but you need to be strong to make that change because your field relies on good integrity, good balance, and you can't really have all that if you have everything like that behind you. Maintain passing scores. I'm not saying be perfect, C's get degrees, but the higher your score is, the more you're retaining, the more you're learning. Make an effort in school, have good attendance, on-time homework, because if you put your teacher as a reference and an agency calls that teacher and you're not a good student, you're not professional, you're not on time, they may end up ruining that for you. Don't let that be you, especially if you have what it takes, but you don't want to show up for school. Show up. It sounds elementary, but show up, be present. Challenge yourself with harder subjects. Math and science suck. You need it in forensics. I'm sorry. I'm going to be the one to tell you, you need it. Start learning. YouTube is a great resource, but talk to your professor, talk to your peers. Again, knowing your learning style. I sucked at math in high school. I killed it in college because I found out my learning style and it really, really helped me. Challenge yourself and don't be afraid. Don't deny a degree that you really want to do because you're afraid of the classes. You'd be surprised what you can do when you put your mind to it. Join your organizations, your honor societies, get awards. Sounds pretentious. If there's self-nominations, put yourself up for it. Get awards, get accolades, start getting known. It's really, really good on your resume. And it also shows you how much work you've put into it and what you've done. Be realistic with yourself and suicide effect. That is the biggest thing because everyone thinks it's all fine and dandy and great in this field. And sometimes it's not. And I'll be real with you. Some days are hard. All this week, I've had a bunch of major cases and I'm exhausted. It is tiring. It is demanding. Be realistic with yourself. Know what you're getting yourself into. And if you don't know, network and somebody will tell you what you're getting yourself into. But I say that with a grain of salt because there are some people that will be very negative and tell you, oh, don't join this field, blah, blah, blah. Talk to somebody who is passionate, but is realistic. Somebody says, yeah, this field, I love this field. This field's great. However, here's the cons. Here are the pros and cons. Don't let someone give you all the pros. Don't let someone give you all the cons. Get a little bit of both. take every lab and mock scene and practical seriously. I can't tell you how many times I was ridiculed by my peers because I took a mock scene seriously. And because of that mock scene, I was proficient in my training. Take everything seriously. Do not let other people affect your learning, because all you have at the end of the day when you're on that stand is you. All you have at the end of the day when you lay down is you. Do it for you, not for anybody else. Don't let peers influence you and make you feel like you're less than. And I want to say that is it. I feel like I was everywhere. There's so much to cover, and I'm definitely going to have a lot smaller presentations about like individual topics so we can talk about it more in depth. But here's my information. I'm on LinkedIn, obviously Instagram. A lot of people ask me if there's ways that they can support my shop. I mean, it's kind of obvious. My shop, there's 20% off my shop if you want it, but you don't have to. Supporting my resources and being here is enough. We've had over 50 people that actually showed up, and just even still, the 140 people that signed up blew my mind. And I'm so grateful that they showed such interest. I'm so grateful for the 50 of you that are here. It is really makes me emotional because it's a passion project to relay all this information. And I am very, very honored that you guys want to hear it from me. The slideshow, yes, if you guys want to need a copy, send me an email. So beforethecrypt@gmail.com, email me that you want a copy and I will send it to you and I'll reply with that email. So if you want a copy of this, beforethecrypt@gmail.com, that is my contact. Thank you, Sophie. So Laundry, yes, email me and I will send it to you. Thank you, Sophie. I am so happy that you all really enjoyed it. Thank you all for all your kind words. Wish I had you in high school. Thank you, guys. Sometimes I feel the same way, and I'm just happy that I can do this now. I feel like if I can just do this now, even if you're at the end of your career, it might just inspire you. If this information helps inspire someone, and listen, this is all information you can find anywhere. Don't credit me. I'm not here to take credit. Go out there and use this information and be a change. Do something positive. Don't say, oh, well, because Alexis, no. Go out there and use it as your own. I highly encourage you. If you're going to steal anything, steal this information and use it and start getting people in this field inspiring and being a mentor or going from mentee to mentor. Thank you guys so much. I'm so happy. If you guys have any questions, I'm here. I can stay on for a little bit longer if you guys have questions. Thank you all. I hope it helped. I know it was a lot of information. I feel like an hour kind of covered it. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. If not, you guys are free to go. Thank you all so much. Caitlin had mentioned that she's waiting for that yes. I'm telling you, you're gonna get that yes. Keep going. Keep going. Please do. You never know what that one agency or that one opportunity is gonna be your yes. Sydney had mentioned earlier about watching open court cases, the testimony. Yes, they're free. Going to open court cases and listening to testimony is really great. It's very entertaining, but it's really great to see actual forensic practitioners testify and hearing how they do it. She still goes, yeah, I mean, that's also a really, really great resource. Thank you guys so much. I really hope you guys learned something from it. I'm going to stick on until 7:10. So if you guys have any questions, you're welcome to ask. I see some stuff in the queue. I see some stuff in the Q&A. Oops, sorry. Someone asked me if I'm a certified, Sydney had asked me if I'm certified, if it's something that I'm considering. I'm not yet. I am going to be certified in the next year. It's not really a requirement for an accreditation in your lab. It'll be required, but it looks so much better on the stand. You get a lot of benefits to it. So yes, I am going to be certified in the near future. What websites did you use? I think I answered that, Jessa, but if you guys need all of this, you just let me know. How did you find it? Destiny had asked, how did you find an internship with no labs or police departments near you? I did a lot of soul searching and I called around to any agency that I could. I got a master list, and yes, I just got your email. Thank you. I will be sending that to you shortly. Yep. I'll be sending that. I'll send it to you individually, so I'm not like CCing everybody and getting everyone's emails all out there. But yeah, Destiny, I just applied as much as I could. to other internships, and I just happened to get one that was far from me. Recommendations for schools. So yep, the IAI, did the IAI slide. Definitely go on the IAI website and you can get those school recommendations. Someone anonymously had asked what my favorite thing about my career is. I like being creative. I like helping people. I like serving people. I like kind of being in the sidelines a little bit, and I like being able to use all my weird talents and my weird interests. I'm very interested in death, and use it for good and not just be that weird kid in the corner. Angelic, you said one of the best resources I've gotten. Thank you. You're so sweet. Thank you all so much. Nuvia said, I have a criminal justice associate. I don't know where to go from here. I'm trying to get a biology bachelor's. What would you recommend? Would highly recommend. The forensic training is huge. Absolutely getting any kind of forensic training on the side. If you want to go into biology, your criminal justice associate, again, I'm not like a school counselor, your criminal justice associate can help you get those minimums for biology out of the way, but you're probably going to have to do a lot of supplemental sciences before you get into the direct career track. So it might put you back, but don't be afraid to be put back if you want to do something like biology. And it'll really help out. But I would definitely talk to your campus or the campus you're looking into and see how that translates. My hardest part, Jordan had asked the hardest part of my education journey. My hardest part, I think, was feeling like I got all my education. I felt like it was nothing at one point. And it really sucked because I was applying. I was doing everything that I could. I still felt like it wasn't worth it in some way. Is the imposter syndrome of it all. I think another hard part too, is working with a lot of individuals that were in my degree that were not as passionate as me, and I got ridiculed a lot. And it made me feel like I wasn't meant for it. It made me feel like I wasn't good for it. It's a lot of fighting with yourself. And I definitely feel like I am getting better at it. I still have my issues, my moments, but overall, education is hard, and trusting yourself and the knowledge that you're learning, that to me is always going to be the hardest. Selena asked, how did you know you wanted to go into further education? How did you know you wanted to go into further education in forensics? I didn't. I kind of winged it. I looked into it and I felt like being an artist was just not my only avenue. I needed to do something more. There had to be something more. And going through and looking at, like, now going through and choosing my master's, I'm so happy I did, because I feel like I've learned so much more and I've become more of an asset for my unit and people around me. Any kind of education, even if I wasn't doing, let's say I was in nursing, I'd probably be going as high as I can with nursing education. I am just such a lover of education and knowing education is a resource. That's very important for me. And Shayna asked, what do you think the difference between crime scene and death investigation is? I know what the difference is, and I'll tell you. Legality is important. Death investigators, they have at least in the state of Florida, they have the legal right to touch the decedent. In my general area, we are legally not allowed to touch the decedent. So it's a lot of working with the body versus not working with the body. Death investigators don't, from what I know, they don't process evidence like crime scene does. You have to weigh the options of those job titles very heavily, because you may be limited in what you can do. You may want to do a crime scene and you go as a death investigator, and then you're not doing super glue processing or fingerprint processing or a different ALS. Or you get into crime scene and you're barely working with the deceased when you want to work with the deceased. Weighing those options is really important because it helps you choose right. They're like sisters. I always consider them sisters. Like my friends that work at the medical examiner's office, we do a lot of the same procedural things, same observations, same kind of processing when it comes to like photos and making sure evidence in chain of custody. But I'm going back and I'm taking things to the lab to process, and they're going back and giving the doctor the report. Some may work with evidence, some may not. It's very dependent on your local district. And also if you have a coroner system too, that will also be dependent on where you live as well. I think I've got through all the questions. I didn't realize we had so many questions. So anyone else have any questions before I go? I am an open book. I know it's late. So if you have, yes, Michelle, go ahead. I got you. I don't mind, because I'm just going to go back and work on my midterm anyways. So ask away. I would love to answer anything else you got before we go. Don't feel like you have to stay. If you need to leave, go on with your life. Thank you for joining. Again, if you need the presentation, let me know. I will email it to you, have the file on my desk, my desktop, and it'll be good to go. I think I'm covering that here. Okay, I got a lot of emails for that. So what exactly do you have to major on? It depends. It depends on what you're going into. So if you want to work in lab, you're going to need more hard sciences, whereas in the field, they don't exactly require that. Like a criminal justice degree can get you into the field, like crime scene, or working as like maybe a criminalist. Whereas if you're needing a lab or you want to do biology or DNA, you want to be a DNA analyst, you need heavy molecular biology. You need heavy science classes. So I definitely recommend going through and finding a subspecialty that you're really interested in, seeing what those requirements are, and seeing what you may or may not need degree-wise, because it's so individualized. Biochem for crime scene photography, it's really dependent on what you need. Oh, it's raining here. Oh my goodness, I jinxed it. It was raining. Like for forensic photography, I'm gonna be real, you may not need either of it. But if you're working in a morgue, you may need that science background to know what you're looking at. I would highly recommend looking up jobs in your area for the job titles you're looking into and seeing what they require for your degree, because it's much easier to match a requirement on a job for a degree than it is to figure out where you need to go. That I hope that helps. It's such a weird combination of different skills. So go on to like crimesceneinvestigator.net and see what jobs are hiring for a job that you would love to work, and see what they require for the degree. And that will help steer you in the right direction, so you're working towards a goal instead of just, all right, I'm just going to get this degree and hope it covers everything. Sydney asks, what ALS do you use? We have like the big like vacuum style crime scope at my agency. We're looking into the Crime Light Auto. But we have the big, so it goes up to, I want to say 500 or 600. So usually we're obviously in like the 450 nanometer range. And then we just recently got an IR camera that's converted. That's like my baby. So I've been doing IR photography like a mofo, and I love IR photography. Our IR camera is converted, I think, at a 750 nanometer. And then we have a attachment that's about 850. So we're about within the 800 to 900 range when we're working with IR, at least when I am. Sarah asked, so can I or should I start getting certifications and trainings undergrad student without a degree? Currently a junior in undergrad. Yes, absolutely. If you can get training certificates, grab them now and make a portfolio and put all your certifications and all of your trainings into it so you can look back on it. Just remember what you did, because sometimes there's some trainings that you may not recall, or maybe you kind of like fell asleep through half of it if it's a webinar, and then they'll ask you in your portfolio, you're like, I don't know what that is. Make sure you know what you're getting your stuff in, and make sure that the trainings are also not exclusive to in-field. Some trainings are required, you have to be in-field practitioner, and some trainings are open to students. Yes, the Crime Light Auto, if you guys haven't, if you're a student, look up Foster and Freeman and look up about like their Crime Light Auto. Talk about innovation, game changer. I love it. I saw it at a recent training and I was like so in love with it. Full spectrum photography opens up so many windows. It makes my camera, I want to do more. I want to see more. So going from UV all the way to the IR, visible light spectrum, everything in between, I can nerd out. I'll do a whole presentation on that. I'll nerd out on that all day. Yes, I think we had like a trial run of it and it was amazing. And then I know a couple of my South Florida friends had it when it did a recent UVIR class, and it was phenomenal. I felt like a kid in a candy shop. That's the cool thing about forensics. You use UVIR a lot in the lab. I do. I'm I wouldn't say specialized trained in it, but we got an IR camera recently and it's converted, and I used it twice this weekend, and the results, amazing. Using full spectrum photography is the way to go. You can see so much, and all you need to know is the basics and how to explain it. It's just like any other process you do with ALS. Telling the jury that you're using alternate light to see, you know, depth on bruises with IR and seeing surface scratches on the skin with UV. It is phenomenal to use. I've been using IR in almost everything that I can use it in, primarily for like gunshot residue, for gunshot wounds, and it has been a game changer. If you have full spectrum photography or you're thinking about getting into it, highly recommend. It changes the presentation of your cases a lot. Oh, Sydney added reflective UV. Hold on. Sorry. I'm like going through a lot. Reflective UV imaging. Steven added reflective UV imaging for latent prints in lab. Absolutely. I just started doing that because of the reflection and the absorption between substrates. And again, this is like nerd talk because I really, really, really love using cool photography. And when you can't, like using it in like question documents or like Steven's mentioning in latent prints, if something is just, they're both reflecting, getting some, or both absorbing, getting some kind of adverse reaction between one of the, whether it's the substrate or whether it's the print or whether it's the ink, that really makes a difference. And using fluorescence with it, hitting it with the blue light, perfect. It looks so good. I just started using that. It's changing the way my prints look, even when I do photography. Sydney added, there is a nice homicide training course coming up in Miami that she's going down, more so death investigation. So if you're in Miami, there you go. And again, more hope that there's so many things going on. This chat is great for resources. That's why I wanted the chat option so you guys can all share resources and things like that. What's the difference between IR photography and organic chemistry IR? Is there an organic chemistry IR? I'm not sure. I'm that one I'm not too sure about. My degree was not, IR spec. That I don't know. As far as I know, just it's utilizing anything labeled IR is that infrared. Utilizing beyond the visible spectrum at a 750 nanometer wavelength and beyond, up to like 1000. A lot of the times IR, the purpose is to see depth. IR kind of gives you that smooth surface on the skin, whereas like if you use UV, it's giving you that rough. So like dermatologists use UV when they're looking at your skin and looking at sun damage. IR is more so for depth. So I could see it being used for depth when you're doing examinations, but I'm not sure how they specifically use that. I would have to research that. But like forensically, we use it for bruising. We use it for contrast. So if I have a black shirt with blood and GSR absorb light, and the substrate, usually that black shirt will reflect it. The black shirt will turn gray, and then the blood and the GSR actually darken. And it will give me a contrast that I can show as an illustrative measure for the jury and be like, you could see possible suspected GSR, because we don't know if it is or isn't, suspected GSR, instead of saying, well, that was a shirt he was shot with. It's a good way to detect for trace evidence as well. Stephen added, IAI conference is in National Harbor this year. So if you guys are in that state, if you guys are present, go to it. It's far from me, and August is coming up, but definitely make sure that you go to the conference. It's great. If you're in Florida, Florida just announced their presenters, and I'm on the bill twice on Tuesday. So if you guys are in Florida and you want to come see me for forensic interning and forensic mentoring, I will have that presentation that day, and I'll be hanging out there all day at the conference. Next year, I have a lot of conferences booked up, so I will be around so you guys can meet me, say hi, grab a coffee. I'm totally open to it. My partner would be there. Amazing. My dream is to go to the big parent body conference. So I'm very jealous of everyone going this year. My goal is to go next year and hopefully by then be accredited so I can be like CCSI, me all fancy and stuff. But absolutely love that. See, but they're coming to Orlando, so I'll already be in the Orlando dates. See, Steven's dropping all the bombs. That's why I'm happy you're here. Like, we need to do a co-presentation together because that would be amazing. Because he obviously knows way more than I do. This is my little informal. So I'm happy that you're giving all this information. So if you're still in the chat, make sure that you're taking down those dates for the IAI conference. It moves around every year, and it's coming to Orlando. So that is easier for me to go to, way easier. There, and that's why 4th VP for IAI. This is kind of like unofficial, like I love the IAI presentation, but I'm not associated with them. California has their division. I want to say the divisional is in October. I could be wrong. Because I was invited to the divisional. South Carolina just passed. I was just there in May. So look under South Carolina's SDII, and then they will have the dates for next year. Yep, October, which I'm sad because it's the same dates as my wedding. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm getting married. I can't go. But definitely look into your local divisional. Florida, we're at the end of October. So living it up Halloween, I'm going to be at the FDII conference, which I'm excited for. And they're great. Like I went to the Pacific Northwest II, and it was an amazing, very intimate time with so many passionate people. And you're not only networking, but you're making friends. You're finding people that really get you. You can nerd talk with them. And I say nerd talk lightly, but like I can talk about major cases and I can get tips and tricks and advice from people that I would have never been able to hear their knowledge or share and get that advice had I not gone. So doing the conferences is vital to your career. Attending the training conferences is important. And not only just being attending, but being present, going to the socials, going to the trainings, talking to the presenters after if you can. That's all really important. And you can do that as a student. I do it as a presenter myself at this point, and as a forever student, I usually will go up to the presenter. I'm like, oh my God, I loved your presentation. Tell me more. I need your email. I need to ask you more. It's kind of like a forever fangirl moment when it comes to forensics. And I love it. So any more questions? I could be here all night. I don't mind. But if not, then I'll give it to, it's pouring right now in Florida, y'all. I knew that rain was going to come. I'll give it to 7:30. 7:30 is going to be the official cutoff. So if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask. We got 3 more minutes on the clock. Even if it's something unrelated to forensic, that's fine. With 3 more minutes, I really appreciate everybody that came out. Hopefully this has been very informative, very casual. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Do I have any kids? No. Does a pit bull count? But no, not yet. No little kiddos for me. I'm way too much time doing forensics right now, but I definitely plan once I get into that point, probably like around 30, when I get into that point in my career, definitely settling with my fiance, who will be my husband this year, and thinking about some forensic kiddos. So that'll be fun. But I have a pit bull that I recently adopted, and he's been phenomenal. So I have a fur baby. I have a little child. South Carolina is not posted yet. Okay. So definitely if you're in South Carolina, you're looking at the South Carolina division, definitely look at their site and make sure you follow up with them, and they'll give you those updates. Thank you. Thank you for the Have Amazing Wedding. Thank you so much. Last one was Charleston in May. Yep. And that was amazing. I love Luke, did an amazing job putting that together. I love my family. They're like my new family out there in South Carolina. So they were great. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you. I'm getting married to someone who's not even in forensics. So it's nice because I get to come home and he doesn't want to hear about all my crazy scenes sometimes. And sometimes he does. So it's a nice little like balance having someone that's not in law enforcement. It helps a lot because I take a lot of things home sometimes. So it's nice to come home and not feel obligated to keep engaging with that and be able to unplug and turn it off. Yes, Tennessee, Georgia, and North Carolina, the tri-state is coming up, which I'm missing. I want to go so bad. That's going to be amazing. Do you know where the North Carolina is? Stephen, you probably have that more readily accessible than I do. I would have to like pop out on my stuff. Yep, Stephen's going to check for you. He's a great resource as well. Stephen, if you want to leave your contact information for everyone in the chat that's still here, that if you'd like to, that would be awesome because he's a fantastic resource. I was able to network with him at the Pacific Northwest II, and it was amazing. Talk about meeting friends. You meet friends and you meet them for life, and you meet people that they either support you or they help out when they can. Yep. So if you guys have any questions, if you want a good resource in the field, Stephen's the guy. Obviously, he's been like my unofficial moderator. So, I mean, like props to him for giving all the information when maybe I don't have it or I can't get it as fast. So thank you so much, Stephen. He is a really great resource. Definitely keep his contacts in, network with him on LinkedIn. I've been active on LinkedIn a lot. But yeah, it is pouring, and you can see like the daylight's gone down because I went from like all nice and glowy to like pale and like dungeon like in my office. But yeah, I'll give Stephen one more second because I know he was looking up the North Carolina, the tri-state dates, and then that'll be it, y'all. Still 18 of you here, so thanks for staying. I feel like I talked your ear off for like the past hour and a half. Do you think you share some tips on LinkedIn? Yes, I do have. So also on my website, beforethecrypt.com, I have a blog. Try not to like advertise myself too much. Excuse me, but beforethecrypt.com, I do have a blog where I have a forensics college survival guide. It's like Ned's Classified, but for forensics. And I put all the tips there, and then I'm going to be sharing them as a blog post on LinkedIn as well. There we go, October 2nd to the 5th, Harris Cherokee Resort for the tri-state. So if you guys are in that area, if you're a part of those states, whether you are a part of those organizations or not, that conference is a fantastic way to meet so many people, not just from your home state, but from multiple. So, all right, y'all, it's been fun. I'm going to go back to my midterm and everything in between. I'm very, very honored that you all stayed. I'm very happy that you're here. I thank you guys so much for listening to me, for the feedback, for engaging. It's been amazing, and there'll definitely be more to come. And I'm going to start sending everybody their PowerPoints right now. So thank you all for coming, and I'll see you on the next one. All right. Thank you guys. Bye.